today I had the pleasure of talking to John Urbanski, who's a friend of mine, and he's an artist. He's a welder and an all-around interesting guy, and I think that we had a good talk. We talked for about an hour, and this is the two of us talking.
Right here, front row.
Royal?
Just up the hill. I was at the Warren Memorial Hospital.
Serious?
Yeah, it had just snowed. Today's what, the 18th?
Yeah.
Tomorrow's the 19th. It had snowed just like it did this time, and there was a big snowstorm. My mom was up in Linden, and they were worried they wouldn't get to the hospital, but they did. Finished snowing, I was born. That's kind of the short form of it, but here in just a couple days, on the 20th.
Really?
Yeah, so I'll be 30.
How far apart are you and your sister?
2 years.
Yeah?
2 years, yep.
Is she older?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. A little more, well, I don't know. She's,
So you mean
June,
you don't know if she's older?
Yeah, June. I don't even know if she's my sister.
So your parents weren't
7
together?
years. No, they separated, I guess, when I was 16. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to, like,
Is Dad still around?
I am back one corner. Yeah, actually,
Yeah?
I live back on the property now. I'm a big mover. I'm a big nomad in this world. I went 12 miles, 12 miles, 12 miles.
But you're building a cabin now.
Yeah, back where I grew up.
So you're going to stay there. I mean, you're not going to
Yeah.
build a cabin and then move.
No.
Right?
That's my last. I went from front row to Linden to front row back to Linden.
And so that's your dad's property?
Yeah, that's
He has a house there?
Mm-hmm.
What does he do?
We own a boarding facility for cats and dogs.
Really?
So you go on vacation, you gotta put what's your cat's name?
Jules.
Jules. You want to put Jules somewhere, bring her to the cattery. Got a dog, I got Ander. If I need to go somewhere, bring the dog, drop him off.
Wow.
Come back, pick him up when you're done.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's what he does. My grandfather started it as a way to, as a facility to house bird dogs when he hunted bird dogs, and we kind of pushed
For hunting.
Yeah, hunting grouse. There's another one, pheasants, stuff like that. But when you start building all these buildings and sort of overpopulation of people, push all the grouse out apparently, and they turned it into a boarding facility for the public. That was before my time. So when I was born, my dad...
For the animals, not
for the animals, not for the public. Yeah, yeah. We don't keep people.
Just checking.
Yeah, we've offered to keep.
It is from Royal.
Yeah. No. So that's what Dad's always done. Mom was a waitress, and
Here in town?
remember there used to be a place called Dean's Steakhouse. It's where Joe's Steakhouse is now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Dean's. And she was there, and she did really great, and then she got an opportunity to go to Winchester at a fine dining restaurant.
When did she start sculpting?
Sometime in that, I guess I was 12 or 14. She took a class at Lord Fairfax with a friend of hers.
Really?
Yeah, they're the only two girls in the welding class. Sitting there with the guys, they're dipping.
Right.
And these girls are just doing class. And
specifically welding. Like they go right into welding.
They went right to the welding class. They didn't take, it wasn't like arts and literature and this, that, and the other. It was, we're taking a welding class. We're going to learn how to weld.
That's cool.
The one lady, I don't think really did anything with it, but Mom took off. So
wow.
She's always been very creative.
That's awesome. And she's been doing it ever since.
Yeah. She made baskets a long time ago. She would weave these big ornate baskets and find a really special branch or twig or section of something and then weave these really cool baskets around it. And that was super cool.
Wow.
Super cool.
And sell
them. Yeah. Or give them away.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the welding, that just made sense. So she just took to it and I guess 10 years she did that.
Wow.
Took a little bit of a break, and now she's back. So.
And she does concrete too, right?
Some, yeah. She'll make these faces.
Make those faces, right? I think those are pretty cool.
Like the Easter Island faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you picked it up.
I did. I don't like to give anybody credit for it, but no, I was working for this welding company, and I'm gonna point because we're literally right here because
it's
kind of
there.
happens. We're this welding company that was right there, and I was working and learning how to weld and all this stuff. And my grandfather, he on the weekends I had owed him a bunch of money. I borrowed a bunch of money, and so I was paying him back by driving him because his eyes weren't that good.
Uh-huh.
So my sister would help out and do all this stuff, but on the weekends I would drive him, trying to pay back. And we're in Strasburg one day, and we're riding down the road, and we're going down the road, and there's this big fair thing going on, and all the streets are closed down, and this girl is standing on the corner. I'm like, Granny, check out this girl. She's absolutely gorgeous. And he goes, I can't see anything. She looks like a squid from here. And so we're laughing and kind of carrying on, waiting for this light to change. And this guy shows up on the corner of the street, and he's holding some flowers behind his back. And the girl sees him, and he sees her, and they're obviously going to meet. And so she's coming across the street, and he pulls the flowers out from behind his back to give to her. And she just, like, breaks in this huge smile, and she runs to him, and they hug and kiss. And it was huge. You know, you could just feel it. You know,
Right.
the whole moment. That
Right.
kind of cliche moment was
Right.
there. And I saw it. I was able to, and so I was at work one day, and was supposed to be working, wasn't. So I built this little sculpture of that moment. And then I realized that in that moment, building those things, that there were a lot of other moments that I really liked in life that I was capable of building. And just, build it, set it aside. It was kind of like taking a picture, but...
Right, and we talked about that selling wasn't even
Oh, no, I don't care.
the purpose,
no.
right?
Yeah, forget it. Yeah.
If someone wants it, they buy it.
They
If they
can have
don't,
it. Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
No, yeah. Oh, for the longest time, the shop was just littered with these sculptures. Yeah, I just forget about it every day. I was caught. I'm sure you understand. You get in this. It's almost like a riptide, like a creative riptide. You know what I mean? You're just kind of going along in life, and then something happens,
Right?
And you get caught in this wave, and it just takes you.
Right.
And so I gave into it, and it was every day. I'd go to work, come home, get a cup of coffee, and then go back to work, and I'd build sculptures.
Making sculptures.
Yeah, build one or two a day, just knock them out.
And they were all based on
Moments. Yeah, emotion, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Now that I do the things I want to do, I don't feel like I need necessarily to build the sculptures. I think maybe I was at a time in my life where I was very unhappy, and I needed something to bring sort of this creativity, this joy, this sort of joy of creating, and I'm very fulfilled with where I'm at in life.
Right.
You know.
And it fulfills the same.
Oh, yeah.
The same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Stack firewood, stuff like that, like a real nice looking stack of firewood.
My dad would love you.
Same as a sculpture.
My dad would love.
A well-raked driveway. For some reason, after it rains, you
Really?
get everything
Are you
tidied back in.
OCD?
No. Well, I'm not. I don't have the ambition to follow through. So I'm not really a true OCD person. I like things to be in order, and I like things to be whatever. But if you looked at my truck right now, you would know I am not.
Well, here's the thing. So I have 2 magnetic strips down in the kitchen that I hang knives on, right? They
Okay.
stick to it. And all the steak knives were facing the same way, right? They were all like lined up, perfect.
Of course.
And I was cleaning one, and I was going to put it back up. And as I went over to put it up, I realized, fuck, they're all going the same direction. So I put this one going the opposite direction.
How'd that go for you?
Right? So then I thought about it, and I'm like, well, that's got to be just as OCD as putting them all in the same direction. And,
Hey, figure.
well, so then I like, it bothered me, so I called my brother, who's OCD, big time, right? So I call him, and I'm like, Mike, this is what I did, what do you think? And he goes, that's OCD. And I asked him the same thing, well, how do you figure? He goes, because OCD doesn't mean that everything's going in the same direction. It just means that you need it to be in a particular way. So were you building your sculptures after when you started your sobriety?
I guess I was 18 months sober.
Into it?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't do much that first year. I just kind of hung on. I didn't really think I was, I guess, necessarily. So, I come from a family of recovery.
Right.
So I was familiar with recovery, but I didn't necessarily think I was so bad. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so when I finally did get in the program and started doing the things I was supposed to, it kind of became apparent that I had more to work on than just the drinking, and so staying sober for the first 3 to 6 months was really difficult. If I didn't just stick to going meetings, like I'd
Right.
go to work, come home, get cleaned up, go to meetings,
Right.
and then eventually that was all I did. And then at some point I was able to add in other things
Right.
as I got more and more sober, a little more confident, a little more capable. But I also got bored. There's only
With going to meetings and stuff?
not necessarily going to meetings, but not having more to life. I feel like as long as I'm working on something, as long as there's something in my life where I feel like I've accomplished a project or some sort of works,
Right.
then it's a good day.
And you're building a house now?
Building somewhat the house now.
So you built a cabin.
Built a cabin. So I went to my dad one day, and I got this thing. I've been told I'm stubborn.
Okay.
I don't know who they're getting it from, but so I went to my dad and I said, "Look, I don't want anybody else to build my house. I don't want anybody else to. I don't want to buy the materials that somebody else made, like 2x4s, 2x10s,
Right.
stuff like that. I don't want to buy like a prepackaged house and then build it. I don't want. I just don't want the same as everybody else. Not that it's bad or anything. It's just I know
It's not what
deep
you
down in
wanted.
my core I wouldn't be satisfied.
Right.
And I feel like if I'm gonna live in a house that I built, I should be satisfied with it. So I was telling him, and it's a ridiculous, it's kind of like a ridiculous quote to me, but of all people, my dad, I think he just knew, and he goes, "I've got a book you should read it." So he gives me this book on it's a hand-hewn log home. So I read this book. I crushed this book. In an afternoon, I just absorbed all this information. I went, "That's it. I'm getting some axes. We've got the property. We've got the trees. We've got everything. I know now that this is something that has to be done."
Right.
And it drives my friends crazy because I will not ask for help. Not out of like stubborn pride,
Right.
but I just know for me,
You want the satisfaction of knowing that you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the pace I've set isn't, like I don't need to build this thing tomorrow.
Right.
So it can take time. And I think I appreciate that. I want to really appreciate what that aspect is.
So you built a
so
room.
Well, so I built this. I hewed all the logs, and I set everything up, and I had this structure, and I was clearing the land and just kind of dicking around doing stuff. And then one day I was working for my stepmom at my dad's house, and my mom and I got in this big fight. We got in a tiff, and so we're back and forth, and it got pretty heated, and so she was like, "Maybe it's time for you to find somewhere else to be." Which is fine, which is cool, I was getting old enough, and so sort of our rental agreement was kind of coming to a close. I could feel it, and it just dawned on me, like, I could build a cabin. Why don't I just go build a cabin? I'm gonna be there.
Right.
So I'll just build a cabin,
Why not?
Yeah, and so it's a job site trailer is what it is. It's got nothing fancy about it. It's a hunting shack. There's no, you know what I mean? There's like nothing to it, and it's just a place for me to be
While you're building.
while I build. Yeah, it's not a residence by any means. So I went out and just knocked out this thing, and like 60 days or something like that. Like, it was ridiculous. It was fucking ridiculous.
But it's 4 walls, a house, and a floor.
Kind of. It's like, it's like 40 trees. No, it gets to the point of being ridiculous. Like, I'd cut a tree down and then not have any way to haul it over because I was too caught up in the moment of like, oh, chauffeur, that I would just throw a rope around the end of the tree and drag it into place. The height of the building is determined by how many times I knocked off the top log. The second time I went, forget it.
That's as high as
it's high as it's going. So I modified the door to match the height. It's like a 5-foot door. You really got to duck to get in there. And it's got a cathedral, so you can really get in there and walk around. But there's nothing to it. There's just nothing to it. So I did that and I knocked that out, and it's going well.
And you live in there?
Yeah. Well, don't tell anybody. But
yeah. Wood stove.
Wood stove. I was talking to my dad, and a couple weeks go by, and he goes, I think I've got a stove in the basement, And so I went down and checked it out. A little potbelly stove. Burns too hot most nights, too cold some nights. Pain in the ass. Really, the best way to say it, it is awful. The first night, so the first night I moved in, it dropped to like 14 degrees. It went from like 50 to 14 overnight. And I didn't have the stove in. So like 12 days later, I finally got the part I needed to go through the roof.
Right.
Which turns out I could have built with the welding skills I have, but I had no idea what it was. Everyone made it be this huge deal. Turned out it's just a sheet metal box with no top and bottom. So I get this thing, I put it in, I put the stovepipe through it. It goes from it had been like 14 the whole time there was no. So I'm in there. I've got like 9 blankets. I had a dream one night that I had jumped off this dock and I'm floating in the water, and I float down to the very bottom. I'm on the ground and I try to get up and I can't. And so I thought I was drowning, but it was like the blankets on top of me holding me down. I guess I was trying to get up and
you're literally in it.
Freezing. Yeah,
at
freezing.
14 degrees.
And I don't know where people get this, but I was so resilient is the word I'll use. Stubborn is what everyone else said. I was so resilient that I wasn't going to ask for help. Like I moved out, I was going to do it.
Right.
And so my sister's boyfriend, she said that he would wake up and go, "You think we should go
check on John?"
Yeah. And my dad would ask, and everyone would ask, and I'm, "Oh no, it's fine." Meanwhile, I'm down there, I'm like, "This is the worst thing ever." And so the night I get the stove put in, it goes from 10, 15 degrees to 45, 50 degrees, and I don't know if that's huge, especially if you're kind of acclimated to the 14.
Right.
The freaking heat wave that rolled through, but I was gonna have a fire. That was
right. I got my Potbelly.
Yeah.
Right.
So I load this thing up, pow, 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 get a fire going. It's nice and toasty, man. Awesome. Well, it gets cold at night. I'll just throw a couple extra logs in here. So I go to bed. I'm laying there, got my blankets on. So I'm laying there. At some point, I wake up just like, it's probably 95 degrees in this little 20 by 20 by 6 foot tall cabin, and I am like dying. And I'm like, it's just, and so I get up. I open. There's 3 windows and a door. I open all 3 windows and the door. It's the middle of winter, and I've got I go back to bed with an arm out this window and a leg out that window, trying to acclimate like an iguana or something like that.
Right.
And so
I'm probably dehydrated.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah, crazy.
The worst. It was the worst. Brutal. Spring, summer, and fall are absolute dream. Perfect nights for sleeping. Keep the doors open, windows open. Winter sucks. Winter's tough. Yeah.
So what about the house?
The house. It's coming. I mean,
yeah.
I've run into a lot of problems. I don't really talk about it, just because I don't necessarily know what direction to take. But I've talked about getting permits and stuff like that, and they, now all of a sudden it's like, you have to get your logs graded and this, that, and the other, and it just seems like all these roadblocks coming up. And so right now what I'm doing is basically just saving up money, and then I've got drawings for it, and I'll have to go to the county and get them to approve it, or make changes.
So they have to approve. I mean, because you're going to cut down every log yourself.
It'll be every tree, yeah.
And they have to approve.
Yeah, so they checked for and don't quote me on this, but what I understand is, your log, like let's say this is the trunk of your tree, and you go up and you have a certain quality tree, and then there's a branch 14 feet up. Well, then all of a sudden that changes the grade of it. If there's a knot, there's a branch. Did the branch break? Is there a split? Is there seam? Is there sat? It's ridiculous. And then I'll go talk to somebody else who builds log homes, and they're like, I've never been asked. You know what I mean? And you just kind of go, well, who knows? Plus, it's also it's like a lost process. Like, how many people out there are hewing their own logs to build their own house?
Right.
It's a small. I'm sure there's a lot of them, but it definitely does narrow the field, and so it narrows the scope of how many houses are inspected. So
right.
I'm not saying anything against inspectors, but they're going to inspect more houses that are stick frame 2x4s and 2x10s
right.
than they are log homes. So right out of the gate, it's not like I'm just hoping I get somebody who's like, oh, I know exactly what I'm talking about, and this is fine, this is good, you're doing great, you might want to do this, how about that, have you checked out this? Somebody that'll work with me, but who knows?
You gotta keep looking.
Okay, so I'm just going slow. I call them, I talk to them, I ask them questions, I get information, and then I just kind of play by the rules, and I go through. So we'll see. But
so is it is it going to be like a 2-story house? And
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to see it. Probably just a traditional square house, a chimney on the end, a wood stove inside, 2 stories, 3 bedrooms, a couple baths, no basement, crawl space.
Right.
But
yeah. Electric?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
To the nines. Yeah, I want to be comfortable.
You don't want to be.
No, this is dumb what I'm doing. This is ridiculous, man. So you can go downstairs, and if you're going to make dinner, you can wash your vegetables. And let's say you're making steak, potatoes, squash, some broccoli, whatever, peppers. You take all that stuff out, you got it on your little cutting block, you do it all up, you wash what you need, and then you do your thing, and then you reach over and you wash your hands, and then you do this thing, and you get a drink of water, and then you do all this thing. All those things involve running water.
Right.
Do all that without running water, it is a pain in the end. It is. So I got like a spring. There's this incredible. There's like 7 springs that pop up in this one area, and so I've capped one of them, and I've got a spout that comes out, so I can wash it. But so it's like, take everything from the cabin down 30 yards to the spring, clean everything up, go back up, make dinner, bring everything back down there, clean everything up, go all the way back up. You know what I mean? And add rain, add snow, add cold. It just kind of wears on me when I know that it could be so much more streamlined. You don't have to filter water. It's right there. It's just right there. It's not hurting anything. Every sink in your house. Oh my God, man. Forget electricity. You could live your entire life without electricity. It is the most peaceful, comforting thing in the world. There's one thing that's so amazing about it. You can feel a house at night with all the electricity on, like the refrigerator running, if you got a wash machine going, or, just the power running through a house. But you go out to this cabin and it is just nothing. And it's just quiet and peaceful and deep, deep sleep. But water. I could do with some water. If I can cut every tree down, harvest every stone, lay the foundation myself, you know what I mean? I'm even to the point of, like, if it makes sense where I can dig the foundation with a shovel, why would I pay $2,000 to have somebody dig it with a backhoe?
Right.
And everyone's like, well, it'd take them, a day to do it with a backhoe. And I'm like, well, it might take me 2 weeks. So.
And that's $2,000 in my pocket.
It's $2,000 in my pocket, and then it's the experience of digging the hole, the experience of and the whole gambit of the experience. Frustration, joy, contentment. Do you find a rock that looks like a heart or a spear? You know what I mean? Is there that moment when all of a sudden, like, there's just something about the soil? You know what I mean? Those things that you'll never get anywhere else. Like, that's worth it to me.
Right.
So it's too wet to do anything in the woods right now. So I'm just working, just welding away, just as much as I can.
You mean work-wise?
Yeah, work-wise.
Yeah.
Saving money, paying for stuff. So.
Cool. You're not doing any more art? I mean, everything you do is art, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're not sculpting or anything?
No.
No.
Well, I whittle.
Do you really?
Yeah. It got real cold this year, and I went, well, to hell with this work stuff. And I bought a little, can I do products on here?
Yeah.
It's the Macronov 120, found on Amazon. It's this super cool little whittling knife, and it's got like a fat oblong handle to it and a short 1.5-inch long blade. And I started whittling in the shop. I would just come out of the cold section, and my buddy works doing the carpentry, and it was just a running joke. He got me a rocking chair, and so I'd sit in this rocking chair, and I had my little blanket on, the dogs around me, and the heat going, and I'd just whittle away, and I'd spend 8 hours. I'd come in like a normal day's work, and I'd just whittle. And I did a dolphin, a hummingbird, a feather for a friend of mine, working on an elephant.
See, so you're doing it.
Yeah, just stuff, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't know if you saw it, but
in the kitchen, I saw that Dremel kit.
Yeah, because the bathroom door, I'm doing the entire door.
Oh, cool. What are you going to do?
It's a hardcore door. It's solid.
Do you have something where you can project an image up on?
No, it's just going to be abstract. I drew a peace sign because, hey.
Sure.
But other than that, it's just going to be like as if I was drawing in my journal, freehand.
That's awesome.
It's just going to be because that Dremel, I can hold it like that.
But no, really nothing going on. I was thinking about it the other day. My buddy came up. He said, asked me if I wanted to start do some more creative stuff. And I hem and haw and this and that. But it makes sense. I mean, like, there's no reason not to do creative things. But then I look, like, how much do I want to work? How much time do I have? Like, really, where do I want to put my focus? And so I'd rather build this house as a sculpture.
Oh, absolutely.
Than build a million little sculptures and never have the house.
You can incorporate everything you're doing into that house.
Plus,
there's metal.
I also don't think. Oh yeah, no, it'll be cool. It'll be super glass.
There's metal. There's glass. There's wood. I mean,
there's awesome books out there on these people that have incorporated ridiculous medias into these log homes. It's super cool. It's way cool. So,
long time ago, you were smoking. We were sitting at the Daily Grind.
Smoking what?
You were smoking a cigarette.
Okay.
All right. And I made some comment about you really, some stupid, comment about how you shouldn't smoke, and you looked at me and you said, however old you were then, you go, Paul, I'm 20, whatever. Like, the thought of dying from this doesn't even faze me right now.
I said that?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And actually, I understood it. Yeah. So my point is, I was going to ask you 10 years from now, but can you see that far down the road?
Sure. I've known my whole life what I was going to do.
Really?
I've always known. And it's, how everyone's like, so what are you going to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I want to be a policeman, and I want to be a firefighter. Well, I just always went, I don't know. And but truth is, be told, I've always wanted to work at the kennel when my dad retires. I want to live on the property. I want to marry, have kids, and just be content with who I am. And so that's just always what I wanted to do. And so I'm sort of getting there. But Dad's going to retire in a few years, and I do 2 days a week there at the kennel for him, and I think there's this sort of incorporation thing where maybe as he cycles out, I'll cycle in a little bit more. And so in 10 years, I see myself being at the kennel. It's a little after 6 now, so I would have just finished up feeding and back home, probably in my slippers I got on right now if they hold up, and just be waiting on somebody to get home maybe. But so that's the thing. I'd like to be in that log home, working the kennel, super content with life, whittling, building sculptures, working on the farm, just being creative in life. simple, easy, nothing to it.
That's awesome. Hey, thanks for doing this with me.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, that was John and I. And I think it went well. I think we had a good talk together, and I think that there were some interesting things there. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, leave a comment, share this with friends, subscribe to my channel. Once again, thank you for listening to The Average Joe.